Yeah, sure. I think our guest does not really need an introduction. I'm just publishing a poll for you to see if you know Bob or not. For me, actually, all those yes answers are applicable. I think, yeah, looking at the votes,
Oh,
most
it's
people
multiple
follow you
choice. I
on
see now.
LinkedIn.
Luckily, it's multiple choice.
Luckily, it's multiple choice. Yeah, it's indeed multiple choice. For me, they're all true. All true. Bob shares a lot of great content on LinkedIn in their newsletter together with Miles within PPC Mastery, and they have both a free and a paid community with actually a lot of students. Really nice. I'm also in there to keep up with the latest strategies, to basically keep up with Google. And yeah, what also is very nice about him is that he, next to all those courses, he even has time to have his own agency and also be a co-founder in AdVerge, another Google Ads agency, next to building his own house. So very impressive how he managed all that. And luckily, he also made some time to be here today. So
Well, I hired a bunch of people to remodel the house for me, so I'm not doing that myself as well.
very smart.
Yeah, so Bob
Hiring good
already
people.
said he's more like the PPC manager instead of like really the PPC specialist in his house because he manages the dealers, right?
Sort of. Yeah. That's a good analogy.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, and then basically for the topic, dynamic feed-based campaigns. Bob, maybe you can quickly explain what you want to tell us today. And
yeah, sure. Let me go through the next two slides and pick it up from there, I guess.
Yeah, sure. In the meantime, I also add
Okay.
a poll to see how people, if people know the topic or not.
Okay, cool. So what we're going to do today, what we're going to discuss is basically advanced search. So I've been in Google Ads for quite a while already, and I'm mainly focusing on B2C and also B2C lead gen and B2C SaaS. But I also happen to do some e-com left and right. But I really have, I really enjoy doing search campaigns. So that's why I also like to go advanced for search campaigns within e-com accounts. And that's what we are going to be discussing today. So throughout the last couple of years, search has become more and more competitive. And in order to win in today's age, and in order to win in the next couple of years as well, I think you need new ways to outsmart your competitors. And in today's guest session, where I'm the guest, we will zoom in on advanced search tactics that you can use for your e-com accounts if they are applicable to your unique situation. So in today's session, I'm about to zoom in on advanced search campaign creation for e-com businesses, with the focus on dynamically created search campaigns that are keyword based. So that's what we are going to discuss today. So we've created a big e-commerce success formula, which is shown over here. It's quite small, and I will zoom into the parts that we're going to address in a bit. We're actually going to go over this in future sessions, not per se with Channable, but within our own sessions. And in today's session, we're going to zoom in on, just the advanced search part. As you can see, there are multiple advanced things that you can do in order to win with e-com. You can think about data input, multipliers. You can think about advanced campaign types like advanced shopping, advanced search, advanced PMAX. A lot of things you can do, but in today's session, we will focus on the advanced search section. And more specifically, we will focus on the dynamic product campaign creation. So I told you that I wanted to zoom in on the part that we will discuss about the e-com success formula, which is this part. So I think when you're doing e-com as a brand, and especially you're creating e-com Google Ads campaigns, then these are the things that you want to consider. Not everything is always applicable for your unique case, but there are multiple things that you can do. So you can create keyword-based campaigns for your own brand. You can create reseller brand campaigns for brands you sell. You can create keyword-based generic campaigns, competitor campaigns. But from there, you can also, turn things up a notch and think about dynamically creating campaigns. So the dynamic function we have inside of Google Ads is mainly dynamic ad targets. So within your reseller brand campaigns or your generic campaigns, you can also factor in, dynamic ad targets, where you basically let Google go after dynamic search queries that are relevant to you, or hopefully are relevant for you, next to your keyword-based campaigns. But then we also have really dynamic campaigns that we can set up using tooling. And these are really, really interesting for, product campaigns specifically. So if you have a really big e-com store, or you have, an e-com store with lots of different products that are really hard to create ads for specifically, and it's really hard to manage, then dynamic product campaigns are, really interesting to set up, because you will see that you will bring in a lot of long tail query traffic down in the funnel, people that are actually searching for your product, and those queries tend to convert really, really, really well. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And I'm going to let you show how to set that up using Channable. So the tactic I'm about to show you is meant to inspire you and give you new ideas to experiment with. And you do not want to blindly copy this tactic because it's a, nice golden nugget, or you're having the shiny object syndrome, because it's simply not a great fit for every single e-com business. So before you're going to consider implementing this, you want to use your own brains first, simply said. So with that out of the way, and with that big disclaimer out of the way, let's dive into the meat of it. So let me first start with explaining what a dynamic feed-based campaign actually is. Well, dynamic feed-based campaigns uses your product data, your product feed data, to create your actual search ads. And dynamic feed-based campaigns are particularly beneficial for e-commerce advertisers with large or very diverse inventories, as they can simplify the process of creating and managing a very large number of different assets. Think about assets like RDAs, RSAs, dynamically created keywords, things like that. So if you have a lot of ad groups to create specifically for unique products, then this is really, really, really helpful. Dynamic feed-based campaigns really allow for the creation of highly tailored ads and really specific long-tail keywords that have specific product attributes in them that bring in a lot of, highly specific traffic. And I will show you some examples later on. These campaigns are all fully automated if you do it correctly and do it right, since you're using your own daily updated product feed that you're importing in a tool like Channable, and everything is being updated real time. So it's really interesting. Was checking the moderator things quite a bit, but the slides are still there. Okay, right? Or do they need to be bigger? Yeah, they're okay. Okay, cool. So in the next few slides, I'm going to show you the setup and how this actually works. So you cannot really set this up without having access to a proper feed management tool. And our tool of choice, and my personal tool of choice, is obviously Channable. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this webinar right now over here. So this is just a shameless plug. I personally use Channable for all of my own clients. We use Channable at my agency, Adverge. We also teach other students inside of the Google Ads Masterclass and inside of the PPC Hub why Channable is such a superior choice over other feed management tools. So if you're going to consider creating a strategy like this or technically like this, or you want to simply optimize your product feed for shopping ads, for example, then I would highly consider checking them out. So you can essentially create feed-based campaigns with either standard ad groups or dynamic ad groups. And within your standard ad groups, these are essentially keyword based. So that means that you have to also create and dynamically insert keywords automatically through your dynamic search campaigns. And you will also have to populate your RSA assets, meaning that you have to populate all of your headlines yourself and all of your description lines yourself. So that's what we're going to zoom in on today's session. But next to that, you also have the option to create dynamic ad groups, where you're essentially pointing towards your product pages dynamically, and then have Google create your headlines for you, where you still need to create the description lines for your DSAs, because these are not created automatically. But there are essentially two different ways of setting this up. So in today's session, like I said, we're going to touch on feed-based campaigns with standard ad groups because of time constraints. I'm already overrunning by a lot, so I'm speeding up a bit. But yeah, I simply cannot also discuss the dynamic DSA creation part of it. So before I dive in, remember the examples that I'm about to show are client-specific, and they do not necessarily have to work for you. So let's talk about steps to undertake from start to finish. The actual first step in order to make this work is to configure some basic rules inside of your Channable dynamic search campaign creation. So in the first step, we're going to configure basic rules to remove any items from your dynamic search campaigns that can negatively impact your ROI. Once we have finished doing that, we want to continue populating your dynamic fields. And in these fields, we're going to essentially populate data that we want to use inside of our dynamically created RSAs, but also dynamically created keywords. So a lot of times we cannot really one-on-one insert certain attributes or feed fields for our RSA assets and keywords. So we have to create some minor iterations and populate some custom fields. So I'm going to show you how you can do that yourself. And lastly, we're going to build the dynamic campaign. So once we have configured the rules, we're actually going to continue building the campaign. So next up, the first step is to actually configure your rules, like I said already. And these rules can actually be quite simple or complex. It's really dependent on the available attributes in your product feed, its values, and its formatting. So the more advanced and the more comprehensive your product feed is, the less custom fields you have to set up and work you have to do in order to populate your RSA dynamically and keywords dynamically in a good way. So it all comes down to what dynamic fields you would like to use in your responsive search ads or dynamic search ads, plus keywords, and what's already available inside of your feed. So let me show you what I mean. So the first step is to actually create some basic rules. And these rules will ensure that you will remove any items that can negatively impact your ROI. You can think about simple rules like filter out out-of-stock items, filter out items with low inventory levels, filter out items with few variants available. For example, if you're selling fashion items and you're selling a white t-shirt in 5 different sizes, and you only have 2 sizes left, which are, well, exotic sizes, really small or really large, for example, then you might want to exclude that item from your dynamic search campaign, because people are less likely to convert since your product assortment is less deep, so to say. You might also want to factor in first-party sales data. So what I sometimes like to do is to also push the sales data of my products. So that allows me to exclude poor performing products from within my dynamic search campaign creation. And you can also think about filtering out items with very low margins that are simply not going to bring you a lot of ROI. There are a lot of different things you can think about in this particular step. So use your head, use your brain, brainstorm about what you want to push in your dynamic feed, in your dynamic search campaign, and what you want to leave out. So here's a screenshot of just 2 really basic rules that I'm talking about. So over here, I'm excluding out of stock items, and I'm excluding poor performance. Poor performance based on our first party sales data. So always look for ways to utilize your data to create impactful filters and rules. So sit down with your team or with your stakeholder, look at ways to, filter out things like this to increase your ROI from the get-go. In the next step, you want to start populating.
Sorry for interrupting. One quick question. Do you have your screen in full screen? The audience, it seems a bit small.
Okay, let me check.
Yeah, this is better. Yeah.
Awesome. Is this better?
Yeah.
I see a lot of thumbs up.
That means it's
okay,
good.
Nice. Okay, let me go back to presenter view. You will share the slides, right? So people can rewatch the slides if they want to. Where's my presenter view? It's gone right now. Okay, presenter view. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm always working with overlays for the presenter view and whatnot. So is this still working?
We can see it.
Yeah, okay, big enough? Okay, thanks for your patience, guys. So let me pick up where I have left. So the next step is to actually populate your dynamic fields. So by populating these fields, you can increase the attractiveness of your ads. Plus, you'll be able to create additional keywords with a higher chance of being eligible. So what often happens is that people are simply pushing the product title to their dynamic keyword creation part, but that generally doesn't really help, and it results in no eligibility because of low search volume. Because oftentimes the product title itself is filled with a lot of attributes and a lot of things people are not necessarily looking for. That is why you have to think about how people search and how you can leverage that to insert dynamic keywords that increase match rates between search queries and the products you're pushing. So in the first step, we actually want to think about creating custom fields to be used in your ads. So if you're going to create ads dynamically, I always think about, inserting sale prices, the absolute discount people will get that is currently running on the product, but also the sale percentage price, the difference between the regular price and the sale price. Also, for example, the product title, which is stripped from certain attributes in order to make it fit in certain headlines or description lines. So if you're pushing the product title with 60 to 90 characters instead of your headline, it will result in, a lot of errors, and you need to fall back on certain backup templates when setting this up yourself. And that's far from ideal in most cases because they tend to become really generic. So that's why you have to find a way to, limit the product title characters and still make it relevant in order to dynamically insert them. So that's why I like to populate those dynamically as well. And for the keywords, essentially want to do the same in order to ramp up the match rates. So I always include the full product title without stripping anything from the title, but I also look at ways, for example, to exclude the brand from the product title, because some products have really specific product names and people tend to just leave out the brand. And if you're pushing the brand plus product title in your dynamic keyword creation, then, your ads won't show, because if you're looking at the match type, how it works, it needs to include the brand inside of the query in order to show your ad. So next to that, you also want to look for ways to strip out certain attributes, like maybe the color or the content of the particular product. So let me show you how that looks like. So over here, you can see the rules that I create to populate these fields. So you want to populate the the keywords dynamically. You want to populate the absolute discount, the percentage discount people get, things like that you can use later inside of the dynamic search campaign creation. And these fields are now set and ready to be used in the third step, and that is building your dynamic ads. So over here you can see an example of what I just did in the rules section. So over here you can see a couple of products, which are vitamins, minerals, supplements, and whatnot, where you can see that I've populated two new fields, sale absolute and sale percentage, by looking at the price old import feed value and the sale price import feed value. And by making a quick calculation inside of the Channable rules, you can then, calculate the absolute discount and the sale percentage discount that you can then use inside of your dynamically created headlines. For example, hey, you want to buy this A Vogel Bioforce Creme. It is now for sale at $7.57, and you will get a discount of 1.92 euros. So it makes your ads really, really dynamic, and it will stand out from your direct competitors. So the new fields that we have just created are now also ready to be used to populate the dynamic keywords. So if I take a look at some additional products again, and pull up the newly populated attributes, you can see that I've populated the following attributes as well. So keyword with brand and contents, which is essentially an optimized field where I have formatted the value based on the title. So you can see that I've removed the dash, for example, because you don't want to send over weird symbols to Google Ads. In the second column, which is highlighted, the keyword with brand without contents, I've removed the actual content of the product itself. For example, I've removed the 30 milliliter or 20 capsules part of the product, because not a lot of people are searching for that. So if you're pushing that directly towards Google and you're not removing that and people are not searching for those long tails, your ad will simply not show up. And lastly, in the last highlighted attribute, you can see that I've also pushed the keyword without brand contents, which is essentially just a product name. So what is really, really important before you start blindly doing this is to check your search term reports to find patterns for your dynamic keywords creation, because you want to align your dynamic keywords that you're inserting with the actual queries that show up in your search term reports. So this is quite small, I'm aware of that, but you will get the slides so you can, double check on what you're seeing over here. But in this particular example, I noticed that most of the potential clients are searching for brand plus product name. And not a lot of people are searching for brand plus product plus contents. So that means that it's way better for my match rates, so to say, between my dynamically created keywords and the actual search queries to push the brand plus product and not always push the contents. Because if I don't create that small iteration and a small optimization, I will miss out on a lot of potential volumes. So I hope you understand why that part is so important. So now that we've got that out of the way, we can start building, and it's time to bring out all of the dynamic fields that we have created. So once you start building your dynamically created search campaign, you will see in a couple of steps that you can start building your ad templates. So over here, you're starting with a main ad template. And over here, you can essentially just create the headlines yourself from headline 1 all the way to headline 15, and also description lines, description line 1 to description line 4. And inside of those headlines and description lines, you can throw in all of the dynamic fields that you either have available inside of your feed already on the item level, and you can also throw in the dynamically populated fields that we have populated in the previous steps that I've shown you. So over here, you can now say, hey, you're looking for this particular product. Right now, we're doing a sale, and the sale is currently X euros off or X percentage off. So you can do lots of interesting things with this, which make your ads really stand out. It's always important to make backup templates because not everything will fit from the very first moment. So I always like to make like 3 backup templates, and every backup template becomes more generic, so to say. So in the first main template, you're trying to push as many as detailed attributes as possible, but a lot will simply not fit. So that's when you start to push less dynamic fields and more generic fields in the backup templates as well. So this is backup template 1, 2, 3. You can throw out certain headlines or description lines that are simply too long and that you cannot make fit, or you can simply use other backup dynamic fields that you have already populated. You can also add multiple main and multiple backup templates, and this is really interesting if you want to A/B test. So, for example, you can test with absolute sale prices versus percentage discounts. So over here, you are seeing that I have created 2 dynamic ads. One is labeled with the absolute sale price, and one is labeled with the percentage sale price. And you can then start, testing them inside of your search campaign. It's not ideal because Google will favor one of them either way. This is a way of how you can push this dynamically towards Google. So lastly, we need to add our dynamic keywords to finalize the setup. So over here, you can push your dynamically populated keywords. For example, keyword with the brand inside of it, keyword with brand plus the contents. And you can also throw in internal attributes like the GTIN of the product, because a lot of tech-savvy Googlers are searching for the GTIN of a particular product, especially for electronics, to quickly get the cheapest results for that particular product. So it's quite interesting to bid on those as well. Always use phrase or exact match for really bottom of the funnel queries like this. So you do not want to leverage broad because it will definitely mess up your tactic and it will start cannibalizing with your more generic campaigns. And once you've got that out of the way, you can start previewing and debugging your setup. So I'm not going to stand still too long for this because I'm running out of time, but you can quickly preview your setup inside of Channable for your keywords and your assets as well. And once you're done, you can start activating your setup and then synchronizing your setup. And then you can see the magic inside of your Google Ads search term reports. So this is where the fun part starts. So over here, you can see the dynamically created search campaign, which are keyword based. That means that these all got keywords and RSAs. And you can see that the ad group name, where I've created one ad group per unique product in order to create highly relevant ad assets, are really matching with the search term queries. Once again, it's quite small. You can take a look at this after the presentation. And this is really, really satisfying. So if you know Bob Ross, you know how satisfying his paintings are. And you can also use a similar approach for dynamic ad groups. I'm not going to stand still about this, so I'm just going to quickly go through the end because of the time constraints. But these are in the slides if you want to take a look at how you can set this up for your DSAs as well. So what has these automations brought me? Well, personally, a lot of free time that I can now spend on meme creation instead. So yeah, I'm really happy with these kinds of automations. And besides that, they also bring a lot of things to my client, namely additional profit that is spent on extra long holidays. And this is a picture I made in our garden 2 days ago. And luckily, my wife wanted to, role play for me, pretending to be on holiday. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for your attention. And if you want to receive more advanced content like this for free, you can consider subscribing to the PPC Edge newsletter and join 18,000 fellow Google Ads specialists. It's all for free. If you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can find it on ppcmastery.com/blog. And yeah, I'm going to give it to you, Jochem or Jules, right now.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bob. That's great value, and thanks for sharing all this, despite even like rebuilding your house or managing it at least. And definitely sign up for the newsletter as well. I think I signed up a couple of months back, and it also gives me a lot of insight, so it's for free. So yeah, you can better make use of it and also get your strategy to the next level. Before we will dive into the questions, we also have some next editions lined up. So Ruben Runneboom is next month, the 12th of June. Could you go one slide back, Bob? Yeah, thanks. And after that, we have Floris de Schrijver from Flowboost, which you probably all know because of the script he created with Arjan School. That's to be decided when we do it, but that's the next one coming up, and we will make sure to share that with you as well once it comes up. Yeah, basically, we will also follow up with the recording and also with an extra tutorial. So we didn't have the time to cover everything, and even you get the slides, so there's more information there. But Bob was so generous to also give us a tutorial where he basically has a video made of how he set up all these things with more explanation, which we're going to send you. So I think that's very nice from Bob, and also gives you way more insights, and also like a lot of answers on your questions, such as the negative keyword adding and such what you also asked. So that's great. And we also, if you could go to the next slide, Bob.
To quickly add, I would highly suggest also attending these two editions, because Ruben Runneboom and Floris de Schrijver are two absolute legends in the Google Ads scene. So you definitely do not want to miss out those editions as well. I think they have a lot of value in store for you. So I'm going to watch them myself as well. So make sure to subscribe.
Yeah, we'll also try to get the remix of Miles in the beginning, and then we can see what everyone thinks of it, and we need to do it next time as well. So good addition. Yeah, we also have another next level e-commerce strategy actually coming up, which is not part of these series, but it's quite nice from Bruna. If you have like lots of products, this is really something you want to see as well, which is already next week. So if you can't wait, no, not next week, but the 26th of June, I can see. So it's also quite a nice one. So if you're able to join, you can also sign up there in the link. And then I think we can head over to the questions. Feel free also to add us on LinkedIn and follow, especially also Bob, for the knowledge that he will share there as well. But I think it's time for the questions. So that's for you, Jochem.
Yeah.
Do you want me to stop sharing?
No, it's fine. Just keep this screen open.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with the most important question from Claudio Todor. Yeah, for you, Bob, what is your experience in running dynamic feed and performance max campaigns in parallel?
Dynamic search campaigns and dynamic performance max campaigns in parallel?
Yeah, dynamic search.
I personally haven't run dynamic performance max campaigns as of yet, so I cannot tell you anything from my end and from my cases. I only run dynamic search campaigns next to, well, advanced PMax bucketing campaigns, but these are generally PLA only because of, well, account reasons.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe to add, it's usually a good practice to do basically what Bob just showed, do that in parallel with PMax, because yeah, you basically get more volume, and you can prioritize your search ads on top of performance max to basically have more control.
Yeah.
Yeah, second question from Lucy Weijers. Do we use a different feed than we use for shopping campaigns for this?
No, and that's the good thing. You can essentially use the same feed that you've created for your shopping ads because you're essentially relying on the same imported product data. The only thing that you need to do differently from exporting your feed to, for example, Google Merchant Center to create shopping ads that is because that you need to create and populate additional fields in order to be used for dynamic keyword creation and dynamic asset creation. So that's a big difference between the two.
Exactly. Then the third one from Sander van Ham. Are there big differences between Google Merchant Center and Channable?
There are really big differences. Google Merchant Center is like a hub that lets you import your feed, but it really isn't that great in optimizing your feed, especially if you're in Google Merchant Center Next already. You do not have feed rules. You still have to go back to the classic interface in order to do that, but it's quite clunky to optimize your feed inside of GMC. So what I like to do, and also what I like to preach, is to use Channable for your export feed optimization before sending it over to your Google Merchant Center account. And that makes sure that all of your product data is highly optimized before you're starting to process it inside of your Google Merchant Center account and then pushing it towards your Google Ads account for your Google shopping campaigns or PMX campaigns, whatnot.
Got it. Just also scanning through the questions. Next one from Jordi Bosman. Will this still work while Google is matching broader or phrase and exact keywords? How much time do you need to add negatives to keep them highly relevant?
Depends on the keywords you're sending over. So it really depends on data in is data out. So what I like to do, like I said already, I like to make my match types really precise. I always start with phrase match and exact match. I really don't throw in broad match for these types of dynamically created campaigns because they will end up with a lot of irrelevant queries. But a lot of times you will still see that your phrase match or your exact match will bring in similar looking queries that you want to negate and you want to exclude from your campaign. You can do that in two ways. You can either address the problem from the source by optimizing your keywords that you're sending over in your dynamically created campaign towards Google Ads. That's the actual first step that I would do. And if it's still not working and you're not happy with the mapping between your keywords and your search queries, then you can start, negating specific negative keywords.
All right. Jules, I think we have time for one question.
Yeah, actually, we don't have time anymore, but because we didn't say it was the last question, let's ask the last question now, because we unfortunately can't answer all the questions we have here.
All right. Then last question from Lore. Is this only working well for very neat and logical product titles? Because this is not always the case.
Yes. You need to have a optimized product feed. And that's why it's so important to use Channable in the first place, because if you don't optimize your product data at all, you're also missing out on, shopping click share and also shopping results. And once you have optimized, for shopping ads, you can then use that optimized product title data for your dynamic search campaign creation. So it's a double whammy, so to say. So yes, you need optimized product data in order to book success with these kinds of tactics.
Got it.
Great.
Yeah, I think that's the end. I will have a look at the other questions as well and try to answer them via email.
Yeah, we'll try to do our best to answer everything. Firstly, I want to thank Bob for giving his time and his value here. I think it's really nice, and especially he will also share quite a nice video afterwards, or we will do that for you. So yeah, great. Thanks for being here. And maybe we'll have you another time, but that's something to discuss later. Because first we have Ruben and Bob presenting some nice case, so we hope to see you all there. And we will of course let you know. And we have some feedback questions, so if you're still here, please let us know what you thought to make sure we can make it better.
Yeah, it was great doing this, so I hope you all enjoyed.